In 2025, there were literally thousands of new knives that were released, and Seth and I had to look at all of them. So if you want to know what stood out to us, we got our top 10 lists here at the end of the year for you to take a look at.
Let's count them down.
Let's do it. Hey everyone, David C. Anderson here, along with
Seth V.
My good friend and co-host, and I guess you're a co-worker. Technically speaking. Here's something interesting we found with the releases this year. We've each got our top 5 folders and top 5 fixed blades, so put them together any way you like, you get a top 10 list, right? You get 2 top 10 lists in this video, really.
Ooh, 2 for 1.
2 for 1. But the thing that Seth and I have kind of been feeling is there's been a lot of great knives this year, but it's been harder to pick out, that one thing that really jumped ahead of the pack, much in the way we've been able to see that in previous years.
Yeah, there was no clear, obvious winner in either the fixed or the folding category.
Like this is the knife of the year type of thing.
Yeah. So this is more of a loose ranking. We're sticking to 10, but don't take the order too personally.
Take it as a group.
Yeah.
And it's a mix of kind of like personal excitement and some industry excitement as well, how we got to this.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and start. We're going to start with the top 10 folders list. And I have got for you 2 knives actually tied here at ZT, the 44 and the 203, which we didn't have on the shelf today to shoot for you. But these 2 taken together, I think, provide a really awesome statement of the way ZT is kind of charting their future.
Yeah, 100%. Especially the 203. It's a shame it's not here, but
203. Sorry.
It's a return to the feel of the overbuilt, 350 series.
It's big and over the top the way that that ZT made their mark. Big 4-inch M4 blade, a really finely tuned crossbar lock with washers, not bearings.
That's another element for sure.
And really eye-catching design as well. Really awesome knife. The 44 is really awesome too. This is about $340. It's actually more expensive than the 203.
Dang. I would rather carry that though.
It'd be easier to carry for most folks. This is a 3.2-inch blade. S45VN, titanium handles, really clean design, and you might see a theme in the picks I picked this year. I like clean, streamlined things. The reason this rises above a little bit is the button lock action on this knife. I mean, we talk about the ProTech Malibu a lot because that is the knife that kind of really lit a fire under the industry and kickstarted the button lock flipper domination that started a few years ago.
And it's still a benchmark.
It still is. Like the ProTech Malibu is still like the best button lock flipper action out there, even all these years later. ZT with their 44 is the first company, as good as any of the other ones are. They do, all the other ones are good too. But this is the first knife I think can really go toe-to-toe with the Malibu.
Yeah, I agree, 100%. There's a solidity to the action that other button locks don't quite achieve. It's a lot of the button lock flippers and really all button locks have a silky smooth action, a very fast action, but the feeling of solidity is something that does set the Malibu and the ZT44 apart.
It's almost like precision mechanical engineering that you're feeling in a way that you don't feel the same way in others. Like a finely tuned watch or something.
Yeah, definitely.
Really awesome.
It helps that the design is so strong too. Like I would struggle to think of anybody this wouldn't work for.
Yeah.
Great size, great materials, great shape, great feel. Great knife.
Great knife.
Yeah.
All right, Seth, what do you got for us?
All right. I am going to kick my top 10 list off with this North Mountain BBNM. Very interesting knife. This is a Dwayne Dwyer design. And, this was not so much a personal pick. I've never been a huge fan of, the Strider SNG, for example, that this sort of shares its heritage with. It just ergonomically doesn't work for me, but there's no denying that it's an iconic design, a very important design. And this is the first time you've been able to really get it at a sort of production scale at a reasonable price from an authentic designer. And it represents what I love about the company that's making this knife. That to me has really pushed it over the top onto this list.
Yeah, North Mountain Blade this year is one of the brands to watch for sure. We've been carrying them for about a year at this point since we first brought them on. And the quality is phenomenal. The prices are less than you think. And they're doing things, they're not just copying every other imported manufacturer that we carry. Like they're doing stuff a little bit different. The Lucky Dog was another great example.
Yeah, the Lucky Dog nearly made my list.
Yeah, well, awesome knife. Awesome knife. Even this is not a cheap knife. These are, in the 300s. But the feeling of solidity that these bring to the table as well is worthy of mention. It's definitely something that sets itself apart from, the other $300, Chinese folders out there.
Yeah. It's clear to me that North Mountain is a genuine fan of custom knives, that they have a true love in their heart for like that era of custom tactical folders.
And they're letting their freak flag fly.
Yeah, a little bit. Like I think of what this knife could have been from another OEM. It would be easy to slap ball bearings in it and tune that detent for drop shot action and flickability and
make it thinner and slicier.
Slicier. They did not do that. They stayed true to the military heritage of this knife and delivered a knife that is more honest and feels more like the original customs that are in its family line.
And by going the way they did with this, we mentioned there's a lot of stuff that kind of, fewer things broke out of the pack. Because they didn't go the same way everyone else is going, we actually remember it. And it sticks out a little bit more. And there is absolutely something to be said for that. This, it stands a little bit apart from that sea of great knives that is out there.
Yeah, really excited. I hope to be able to buy a North Mountain blade one day, Like, I take a look at this knife, it's not for me, maybe, but I love the way they're making it, and I can't wait to see what's next.
Yeah, good stuff. A lot of cool models from them. All right, next up for me, we'll go a little more budget-friendly here. Those were three quite expensive knives. Another brand that Seth and I are both quite excited about what they're doing is SRM. This is a company that's done OEM work for a ton of different companies out there. CRKT, Real Steel, I'm forgetting, there's others.
Wright.
They
do the Wright
some
ones.
of them. But they've been, ramping up their original designs. And this is the 258 Terrier. And at about $65, it is absolutely a stunner. One, you have a laminated blade right here with the Sanmei construction. 140 CR is the core steel. They claim it offers performance somewhere around the S30 range of steels, that's a bold claim for something this inexpensive. And a kind of hallmark that they've been executing, not only on their own knives, but some of the OEM work they do as well, the folded steel frame right here.
Yeah.
Which gives it strength, solidity, helps keep the price down because that's a very efficient way of manufacturing. And the 258 is just a sweet all-around design. It's narrow enough in the pocket, yet you have a 3.5-inch blade with a great all-around drop point shape. Another clean design. I know, I have a type. And it's got one of their cool trick features in the, hang on, let me do it here. So it might be a little bit stuck on me.
Well, it's solidly mounted. It is a trick, but it's not a gimmick.
Yeah, there we go. You can remove the clip and swap it around with no tools. It's kind of sprung right here, which makes it easy to flip around. Which side do I want? That's the side I want it on.
It's nifty.
And I've actually been using this exact knife a lot because this has been kind of my desk knife here at the office for the last several months.
Yeah, this SRM is doing such cool work. It might be funny to say it, but the budget brand is the most exciting new brand to me. High-end stuff is as good as it can be, but what really interests me is when a $60 knife is better than it's ever been before. And that's what this is, really.
And I'll kind of summarize a point that you've made before in our conversations. The only thing holding SRM back right now is they kind of just pump out their own designs in between all their other work and just let it out into the market. If they had a strong marketing machine and marketing team the way a CIVIVI or someone like that does, they could be really special.
Yeah. Their designs are every bit as good. More people need to carry them, and I hope we can do our part to get the word out. These are seriously good and insane deals.
Yeah. I want to talk about, before we throw back to you, another knife sort of side by side with this.
Okay.
Another folded steel frame knife. This is made in Germany. This is the Boker Kihon Bifold, which doesn't go like ultimate budget like some of the SRM stuff does, but carries the same spirit of giving you an absolute banger of a deal for the money. It's about 105, a little bit over 105 bucks. You've got a Magna cut blade. The steel frame carries super slim. I mean, just the performance there for a high-end piece or a high-end steel like that is awesome. It's a great EDC size and shape as well. Another clean design, which I like. The value here is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it's really well executed. What surprises me, it doesn't so much surprise me, but what's interesting about these newfangled folded steel knives is the precision with which they're made. Because this style of knife, you see it on the Duk Duk, you see it on the
Black Cat and all those old knives, yeah.
Those knives were sturdy, but precision is not a word that you'd use to describe them. But I think it is for this.
They have all their charms, but precision does not contribute to their charms.
Yeah, not at all. But this, I mean, look at the centering on this, for example. Like, just dead on.
Yeah.
And the SRM feels smooth and precise and stable. Like, yeah.
Crown spine on that SRM, actually.
Yeah, little details.
But yeah, I mean, just the Kihon Bifold, you can get it in the one-hand opening or, one without thumb studs for, like that's a German law specifically. They can't have a one-hand opening knife that also locks. You can have one or the other type of thing. And this is made in Solingen, Germany. Like, this is made in, like, the Boker factory, not, slapped on from somewhere else. Just really cool to see them embracing ways to make their stuff more affordable, which this day and age is very important, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, just a cool style of knife. Cool to see the precision of modern manufacturing come all the way around back again to this very old-fashioned style of handle.
Taken the old style and brought it back and perfected it.
Yeah.
Throw a couple knives at us, Seth, metaphorically speaking. Please don't.
Well, not to ring the same bell twice, but I do have an SRM here. This is the 251, which is not a memorable knife, but not a memorable name, but this is a very memorable knife. To me, this represents, like, if that SRM, what's the number?
The Terrier, the 258. That actually has a name, the Terrier.
Oh, good.
Yeah, which is good.
Yeah, these knives do need names, but trust us, they're good.
This is the Twin, actually.
Oh, they give it a name. Okay.
Yeah. The 251 Twin.
Okay, great. I will remember that now. No, this represents the ceiling. So if the Terrier represents, like, the kind of the best budget knife that the brand makes.
Actually, they make some like $30 knives that are pretty dang impressive too.
That's true, but this is the best.
The best of the cheap.
The best of the cheap. This is like a new ceiling for the brand, and it's not just in the price, which is not crazy. It's $80.
$80. That's only $15 more than.
Yeah. It's more in the details and the execution here. There's kind of a lot going on. So it folds up. The blade is completely concealed. You can either deploy it by pulling back the crossbar and flinging it open, which is very easy to do, even though it's quite a small crossbar lock. You can also thumb or flip it open with thanks to this sort of interior chamfer that exposes the jimping on the blade. And it's just such a clean, efficient way to execute that style. I've seen these like so-called lighter wheel flippers before. But
they stick up a little bit usually, but this is completely buried.
And it still works. It's like a secret agent knife. It's so cool. And the Twin, I can see the name, how it fits here because it's perfectly symmetrical. It's only sharpened on one side, but it's also just two pieces that join it together at the back. Like, there's a lot of machine time that went into these handles. And then another detail, even beyond that, this thing is just packed with details. The handle inlays taper towards the pivot, so they get wider here, and then they're wide enough to bury the wire pocket clip underneath the inlays to hold it in place. Like, it's just every little piece comes together perfectly to make this design so satisfying.
Yeah,
it's
they
such
really
an
are.
Interesting knife, such an unexpectedly cool knife from a brand that just doesn't have a lot of, like, brand identity in the public sphere yet.
In the public awareness, yeah. Yeah, it's a very cool one for sure. And yeah, that was like my first takeaway when we showed this, when they first came in, was how easy. I didn't have that problem at all in the new knives.
You know what you can do?
What am I doing here? Okay.
You can, if you don't want to flip it, you can thumb it all the way open. That's part of why it's
smooth.
Yeah. Like when
that's real smooth.
When the lighter wheel kind of sticks up a little bit, it makes it easier to flip, but it takes away the slow roll option.
Like that's.
Whereas this, you can slow roll it the whole way.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Very nice. Very nice.
Nifty. Doing a lot here. SRM, definitely a big brand of 2025.
All right, show us another one.
All right. Here we go. Now, this right here is the Kershaw launch Iridium. It's not a new flagship for Kershaw. I think that's probably the Bel Air, if I had to pick one. But it is a hugely popular design that they've been able to iterate on to make tons of new variants. It started off as an import, and this is the first USA-made version. What a success story for Kershaw that this represents.
The Bel Air too, like they've had some real hits the last few years. Like the Bel Air especially, we talked about things that set themselves apart that were like, that's knife of the year. And the Bel Air was that, for sure.
Yeah. That was a year that had an easy pick.
Yeah. But this is an awesome blade.
It still deserves a spot. The Bel Air is a better user, but I do think the Iridium has more style. I think it's a better looking knife, and that is very important. And especially when it comes to an automatic. I really like this as an automatic. There's a little bit in this that hints at a kind of a stiletto design, the symmetrical steer. Yeah, a little bit. I wouldn't call it a stiletto, but it gestures at it in a way that is satisfying for an automatic knife to kind of have.
It's sitting there looking over at the stiletto in the corner going, hey, baby.
Yeah.
Magna cut steel, aluminum handles, about $168.
Yeah.
Not that expensive for what it is. For an auto, US-made auto, first of all, but also to have Magna cut on it.
The launches are so well made. They're such a good value for what you get. And this one is just dialed in. I like the new pocket clip they're using. The aluminum feels nice. It's not too slippery. It's got a sort of blasted matte finish. The action is very authoritative, very fast and snappy.
That's something the launches have always been good at. Like the action may not be like the best in the industry, but it ain't far behind if it's not.
Yeah. Maybe it could get up there with a couple extra drops of lube to help.
I don't even want that to sound like it's not good action. Like it's really darn good action. Like it is right up there amongst the best.
Yeah. I like the blade shape too. It's very usable. I was calling it stylish, but I didn't want to detract from its usability. Well,
I talk about like generic drop points all the time. I love their utility. This has all the utility of a generic drop point without seeming generic.
Yeah.
That's what I love about it. I love the big swedge there. I love the shape. The geometry is really nice. Yeah, you can't go wrong with this as a user.
Yeah, hard to miss the Iridium this year, and the Auto is my favorite and therefore best, I guess.
Well,
this video.
You bought it with your own money, so this is actually you're backing up your words with action here.
This one's mine. A little bit of wear on the pocket clip proves that this one is mine.
All right, next one for me is another brand that we think is one to keep your eyes on between like the SRM, the North Mountain, and Remette.
Yeah.
Tons of cool knives this year. My favorite is the RT-Meteor, which this one is mine.
Oh, nice.
Again, I like a generic drop point for its utility. This has all that utility with some style. Mm-hmm. It's a shape overall that feels a little bit different from other stuff out there. I love the neutrality of the handle. Big or small hands could use it. The blade shape is awesome. And it's a button actuated frame lock right there.
That's cool. That's the first time I'd seen that.
I know they're not the first to have done it, but I think there may have been like a patent for the person who had first done that, and that has expired. So we're starting to see a little more of that. But yeah, this is my first time really experiencing it. You can use it with finger safe closing action, just like a button lock. You get great action. You can use it just like a frame lock as well. Just I mean, I think the design speaks for itself. This one is a little gaudier than most of my clean comments so far, but it still has a pretty clean shape. I just love what they've done with it. Prices on these are, high 200s to start for normal price. Some of them are on sale right now for about $250 though. While we're filming this, don't know how long that's going to last. M390 steel, really cool copper carbon fiber inlays on this one, titanium handles. It's, I usually don't go for high-end titanium frame locks. My Sebenza's exception, of course. But just generally speaking, like the modern, like flicky titanium frame locks have never been like the big focus of what I like to carry.
Yeah.
But I had to have this one. Like as soon as we showed it, I was like, I need this.
Yeah.
So it broke through. It's something more than just another titanium frame lock flicker.
One of those weeks where the video shoot turns into a shopping trip.
Yeah, it even has a front flipper, which I'm generally, I have taken a comedic stance against front flippers, and I still bought one because you can still use the thumb studs or wrist flick
you can safely ignore it.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one is cool. The mechanism is sweet, and the finger safe closing is a nice, sort of material improvement to the design. But the blade shape is what I think makes this special. It's almost like a drop point that turns into a spear point somehow.
Yeah.
Like something's going on with it. It's very entrancing, but it's still very simple.
Yeah. Yeah. It's got a little bit of like dagger vibes near the front because of how deep that swedge is and the way it tapers down, the way the blade shape tapers down. I don't know. This is an interesting knife. Remette this is the one I liked the best. But Remette has made some like more interesting knives than this year. You actually have an honorable mention over there. Let's show that real quick.
Yeah, we'll jump into this. This is not technically a numbered item on the list, but this, what is this one called?
It's the woodpecker, isn't it?
I think so, yeah.
So they've done several knives this year that can be disassembled without tools in service of giving you this clean, design with no visible screws on the outside.
Yeah, just a pure aesthetic flex that they're doing. It's like they designed this knife and they thought, how can we make this cleaner? They looked at it again and they saw the pivot and the hardware and they said, we can't have those little warts on our knives anymore. We got to figure out a way to get around that. And they went to extreme lengths to make that happen. Yeah. Like the spring-loaded latches that hold this together and sort of click into place have been meticulously machined to not move around, while you're using it as a knife.
And this is only a little over $200 too, with M390 and
crazy
titanium.
To think about it.
The cool thing too is they didn't just do it once. This knife, the disassembly was another. Like the actual name was disassembly, and there's another one that I'm forgetting. Each that could come apart like this, but each one did it in a different way. They didn't just duplicate their mechanism across different shapes. They just started from the ground up for each of them. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. I get the sense that Remette is having fun. And I like that it comes through in their knives.
Yeah.
I like that character. This knife is, again, it's not one that was to my personal taste to the point where I wanted to pick it up, but I just love it. Yeah, it's a great feeling knife.
But it's not on the list.
It's not on the list. Let's put it back off camera.
What's next on your list, Seth?
All right, my actual list. This is technically not a knife, technically a multi-tool. The Roxon Flex Companion. This feels important. This is an important product. It's more than just a knife. It's anything you want it to be.
Yeah, basically. It could be not a knife if you wanted it to be.
Yeah.
So the Flex series from Roxon, of which the Companion was new this year, is interchangeable tools or interchangeable implements on your multi-tool. They can be done real fast without screws. They open sourced it so anyone could make their own things for it and sell them. It's pretty awesome, right?
It's really awesome. And the Companion rises above the rest because it's not trying to compete head-to-head with the likes of Leatherman. Leatherman is going to beat a Roxon every day in terms of strength and the kind of solid feel.
They feel better. They do.
Yeah, the tools, the sacrifice that you do make for the interchangeability of the tools is a little bit of tolerance in the fit.
a little bit of play. You can tighten it down for sure, but it's just inherent to anything like that.
And it's very slight, and it doesn't impact the usability, but just on pure, raw toolishness, the Leatherman has it beat. But the Flex Companion, though, it's not trying to be a Leatherman. It's kind of its own thing. It's closer to a Swiss Army knife, if anything, but I love the form factor. Just this boxy, simple shape. The fact that you can kind of kick all the tools out with this locking mechanism, so you can get at everything one-handed, not just the knife. And it's satisfying, it's immensely useful, and it doesn't matter what you need it to do.
You can make it do it.
Yeah, you can get the implements for it.
Yeah. A cool thing about their locking mechanism, if I may,
Yeah.
or about this lever here, this does like 3 distinct things. So it's really, like, I like the cleanliness of the way they designed it. It kicks your implements out so you can get to what you need. It's also what unlocks the knife, or whatever, when you're done using it. It is also, when you push it all the way back, the thing that lets you take the tools out.
You want to swap it for a...
Sure, I'll need to take
the tool knife.
I'll need to take 2 things out for that one.
Oh, this is a double thickness?
That's a double spacer. Yeah, let's get rid of this all. Why not? But this is to show you how quick it can be, so you can tailor it either to a particular job, or if you're Seth mentioned knifeless.
Yeah, if you're traveling.
You can make this a knifeless. What am I doing? What is happening here? I said this was real easy, right? Didn't I?
I think it relocked on you.
I was going from the other side. It's easy. Yeah. Trust us. So yeah, now it is a knifeless tool, although we probably need to get rid of that all as well.
Yeah, TSA might give us a sideways glance with that one.
I don't have it on my list here, but I bought one of those myself this year and have been using it in places.
That's cool. People have been asking for something like this for as long as I've seen.
Every time Victorinox comes out with a new Swiss Army knife, they're like, I wish this would be better if I could do just this one change with it. Well,
yeah, here you go.
Maybe check these out.
Dreams have come true.
Indeed. All right, I got one more folder, and this might be, I know it's tough. This might be my favorite folder of the year. It's kind of an unassuming design. It's a little smaller. But it's really nice. The BIGiDESIGN Overlook. Sorry, as I fumble it there. It's about $220, M390 titanium, and it stands in kind of a stark contrast to the Remette. Like, this is a flashier knife than I often carry. This is very simple, and it's a clean shape. It can be dressed up or down. This could be a gentleman's knife. It could be something you throw in your blue jeans and carry every day. But what I really appreciated, apart from like the really nice shape that it is, it's the best knife they've done yet, I think. And when we're talking about this kind of price range, this is above $200. This is a premium knife. Very few companies out there have kind of the stones or the courage to go this simple with it. It doesn't cost much more, to do a little more flair on something like this. But is that always necessary, or even the best decision? I don't know. But the inclination is to, give things a little bit more. The restraint they've shown on this, and many of their products, quite honestly, is very in line with the design language I really admire.
Yeah, I totally see what you're saying. The things that set this knife apart are pretty subtle. They're not flashy. They're not things like fat carbon or crazy milling patterns or even sort of like exotic new lock type iterations. It's the way they've attached the pocket glove.
Oh yeah, the single screw from the back holding the plate, this plate in, and then also holding the handles together with that same single screw, really cool. The ceramic ball lock bar interface. A trick pulled from the Chris Reeve playbook.
Not something you notice from pictures on the internet or even at first while handling it until you realize there's like just that single little click of engagement. There's no detent fall off. It's so refined. It's a really nice detail.
Yeah.
A minimalist masterpiece.
Yes, I agree. All right. What do you got for us, Seth?
My number one folder on this list is the Buck Range.
Hey, that's mine.
This is yours, yes. We can tell by the Founders Edition engraving there.
I'm not the founder. I was in the right place at the right time
yes.
to get one of those.
Man. This knife doesn't stand ahead of the pack by a big margin the way some knives have in the past, but I do think this is my honest knife of the year. If I had to pick one, it would be the buck range. Number 2, I could probably go with any number of these, but 1, I think it's got to be this. This just has me so excited about the future of buck knives.
Yeah.
This is like the first not 110 derived knife that has really stood up on its own 2 feet and like gone toe to toe with everyone else. Without, the kind of weight and extra muscle of buck's heritage behind it, this knife makes a case for itself.
Yeah, agreed.
Just on its own merits. It's so well executed. I love the thinness of the blade stock. I love the way that they've built this handle. The 2 sides that come together and kind of show off this. It's almost like a file work type look.
Yeah.
Even though it's of course
up.
not. The pocket clip, top mounted. There is a little bit of buck heritage behind this. The
Vantage, which still exists, it's not exactly the same, but it has some similarities to what they did with the range. They kind of evolved the Vantage shape.
Yeah.
The Vantage has always had my favorite kind of pocket clip execution with the tail mount here. They kept that on the high-end versions. This is aluminum and MagnaCut for about $220. They've also got a 154 cm version with injection molding for, what's the price on these? About $125. And there's a mini version too, a smaller version.
Yeah. The mini, you'll see the mini on a video to come out soon. But the more affordable version, in some ways, is actually better. The handle is, I think, indisputably more comfortable.
Seth and I are in accord on this.
Yeah.
The handle, because it's injection molded, they were able to give it shape as opposed to just going with flat aluminum, because if they wanted shape on the aluminum, it would have cost more. The shape on this is great. It's not my favorite, pocket clip mounting location.
Yeah, they went with the classic, the new standard deep carry pocket clip they do.
Which is a very good clip.
It's a great clip.
Yeah. But yeah.
It's not quite as classy as that. But hey, that is the more expensive version.
Yeah.
So.
Take your pick of it either. Like, you can't go wrong. That's definitely up there with some of the most noteworthy things this year.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Bravo, Buck.
So those are our top 10 folders. Top 10. Let us know your favorite folders of the year down below, and get angry at us. Tell us where we went wrong with these picks. Shall we get into the fixed blades?
Let's.
All right. Who wants to go first?
I took the last one, so you go ahead.
All right. So my first choice is the Gerber StrongArm Camp this year. There's 2 tiers of this. The MagnaCut version especially is just astonishingly good value. Now, I have a regular StrongArm right here, actually the MagnaCut version of this. People have been using this as an outdoorsy knife since the original came out, the 420HC versions. But it's always been sort of a tactical or combat knife design, or at least the heritage that people have adapted for use into the outdoors.
Yeah.
The Camp version is first and foremost made to be an outdoor knife. Hey, it's in the name, right? Camp. US made, 420HC for about $90 or MagnaCut for about $150. Really good design backing up those that material choice as well. 4-inch blade or 3.8-inch blade, all around generically useful drop point.
Hard to
Actually,
go wrong though.
hold these side to side. I do kind of have a type, don't I?
Yeah.
It's thin enough to be slicey. It's durable enough. It's not going to be as thick and chunky as the standard StrongArm, but that still exists, so you could always go for that. Good skinner, good hiker, good, just all-around general belt knife. It's a great size for being useful. The ergos are really nice. You've got rubber there to keep your hands from getting frigid on your cold steel, as well as giving you extra grip. You got a protruding tang out there at the back, so it does have a full-length tang going through it, and a very similar sheath, which actually didn't unpack. There it is, to the standard. You can do belt carry that way. You've got attachment options here at the back for molly and other stuff. It's an ambidextrous sheath. That's hard not to recommend for people who are just like looking for a decent and decently sized camp knife at a reasonable price, and especially if they want U.S. made,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have a hard time not recommending that knife.
Yeah. The original StrongArm, for as popular as it was never really the best choice for a camp knife.
It works, but that's not where its design was focused.
This is that.
Yeah.
I like the iteration here. Like Gerber USA is still making awesome stuff. And this in Magna Cut too. How cool is that?
Yeah, at a really decent price. Actually, this one right here is on sale right now for $75.
Dang.
Down from its normal 90.
Yeah, I like the sheaths too. Gerber always does. They do great sheaths and pocket clips.
Yeah.
Like they make their knives easy to carry, and that's important for everybody.
Yeah. Great camp knife.
All right, I'm going to kick my list off. Oh, with a knife I don't have in my hand.
Haha. Imagine it.
But I really do think it deserves a spot in the my top 5, our top 10. That is the Jack Wolf Knives Vampire Hunter. This was I guess it was still a pocket fixed blade, but it was a little larger than the other pocket fixed blades in their series. Sort of a coffin-shaped handle, spear pointy, maybe slightly drop point blade. What set it apart, though, is the fact that LT Wright made it.
Yeah.
Which makes it, I believe, Jack Wolf's first USA-made knife.
Yeah.
And it brought a lot of the traditional flavor of the knives that Jack Wolf, that inspired Jack Wolf to start making knives. It brought that flavor into an actual Jack Wolf knife.
Yeah.
And that's what made it feel so special. It had the warmth of hand craftsmanship, from the leather sheath to the way the handles were finished. The design is great. The handle looks like it would be uncomfortable because it kind of has
really
that
isn't.
little, it has those little spikes in it, but it doesn't get in the way at all.
We actually had a chance to have some of them here at the KnifeCenter to sell, which I think we were the only dealer that got our hands on any of them. And I really wanted to pick one up at the time, but finances weren't right, so I missed out. But that's how good it was.
Yeah,
like,
me too.
I actually wanted to
I don't
buy
have one to show off. Yeah.
Really, really cool thing.
Yeah. Okay, so let me go into. I'll actually show off the
Sure,
knife.
show us another one.
Thank you, Thomas, for the B-roll of the Jack Wolf Vampire Hunter. But I guess number 4 pick. This is the Kizer Begleiter fixed blade. This is a superlative EDC fixed blade. I won't call it a pocket fixed blade because it's
not quite pocketable.
No,
Yeah.
it doesn't even really make accommodations for it.
You could. It would be sticking out a lot, but yeah, it's more of a belt knife.
Yeah. Someone's pockets are definitely big enough. But the thinness of it, the lightness of it, it's kind of flat enough to carry comfortably, riding up a little bit or in the waistband, something like that.
It's the materials to the price ratio that really, that takes it from good to best, like good to greater.
Yes. All the details I just mentioned are fine and everything, but they played a lot of fixed blades. But this gives you more for your dollar than maybe any other fixed blade you can buy right now. I'm comfortable just saying that. I don't think I've seen a better value this year for fixed blades.
Regular price on that one is about $95.
And it has 3V steel.
Yeah.
And rich light handles.
It's very, very nice. There are less expensive versions with AEBL.
Mm-hmm. Also a great steel.
In fact, I've got one of my honorable mentions right here. I'm a big fan of outdoorsy fixed blades. Their drop bear series of survival drop bears. They're not using that word necessarily, but this is the Fix 7. Mm-hmm. Normal price on this about $90 with a 6.5-inch AEBL.
Dang, that's a lot
blade.
for $90.
That's a lot. And
Kizer's fixed blades have been on point
they've
this
been
year.
hitting, man.
Yeah.
And AEBL is a stainless steel, but it's super tough, tougher than stuff like Magna Cut. Let's just be honest, it is. Mm-hmm. It's not going to hold an edge like Magna Cut, or quite be as stainless as Magna Cut, but this is a steel that can take a beating, and on a blade like this, that's awesome. The ergos are great, the price is great. You got the
bow drill.
That's the word.
Yeah.
A lot of cool stuff right here.
Never actually used one of those. I should.
Yeah.
I hear it's a lot of work.
Let's get Joe Flowers back up here. We'll start primitive fires again. All right, next up, I also have an EDCable, but not quite pocket-friendly fixed blade. The CIVIVI Modern Hunter, a Kyle Lamb design. This doesn't offer the same kind of astonishing value as the Begleiter fixed blade, but but I love what the design's doing. These are about $97 and some change. Nitro V blade steel, which is sort of an offshoot of AEBL, which, as we know, I'm a big fan of.
Good stuff.
And I like that this is sort of a hybrid design that still feels like it does each side of the hybridization pretty well. You know, it's an outdoorsy, like bird and trout type of thing in terms of the blade, and sort of a self-defense type of handle. The blade's just over 4 inches, and you know it's got a pokey profile nonetheless. So like the tactical side of it feels well served. And then you've just got a really cool blade. Interestingly, it's a compound grind here. We are hollow at the back and flat near the edge. So if you're using this as a hunting type of thing, it is called the Modern Hunter after all. Modern spelled MDRN. If you're searching on the website.
No vowels, please.
So you've got that kind of flat geometry there as you're slicing into skinning or field butchering, anything like that. And I guess the idea with the hollow behind it is sort of release, keeps it from like sticking to the blade as you're going up so much. It gives a point for things to pull away, and it's also just cool.
Yeah,
like it's something pretty neat.
It's a compound grind, not the way we're used to, not the usual way we understand that term. Usually it's compounded sort of across the blade, where one section will be one kind of grind, one section will be another. This is more like as you cut, the material is going to encounter different grinds. It's very interesting. It even borrows maybe a little bit from kitchen knives.
Oh, this would be a great tactical steak knife too.
Yeah, this is a tactical steak knife.
Heck yeah, man.
And I totally agree with you. It's definitely pulling off both jobs. Like the handle, it's locked in a sort of tactical way, especially in that reverse grip with this thumb spot. But in a conventional or pinch grip,
it's pretty great.
It stays out of the way. It just feels good. It works.
Yeah, I like it a lot. Kydex sheath with horizontal carry out of the box, but slap other things on it if you wish, man.
Yeah.
I really dig that thing a lot.
Cool knife.
All right, what do you got for us, Senor
All right,
Seth?
Next, this is a knife that I just have a crush on. This is the Casstrom No. 8, and I really do like it. This is a personal pick. This is a knife that I couldn't get out of my head. I hope to get one. If they don't come out with a full flat grind version soon, one of these Scandi grind versions is going to end up in my collection.
They may wind up because they've done convex before on occasion too.
I've seen them do full flat on the 10, so I'm seeing if it comes to this smaller 8. But anyway, what we have here is a Finnish company. Oh wait, no, they're not Finnish. They're Swedish. Double check that for you, won't you? Okay.
Swedish, yes. Casstrom of Sweden. That's the name of the brand, Seth.
Indeed. What we have here is a Swedish company, not Finnish.
But it has very good fit and finish.
Great fit and finish.
I mean, this is like handmade attention levels of detail.
Yeah, check that
words.
And the leather sheath,
super clean.
Definitely part of the appeal of this. You can get it with or without this fire steel with a matching handle. Nice sort of elastic retention on that. Beautifully made sheath. I love the contrast stitching there. It's stylish, it's traditional, it's comfortable.
And even though it's small, it's still comfortable for slightly larger than average hands too. Like Casstrom is criminally underrated, I think. Like they're not as like affordable as like the Joker knives out there. That's a brand. That's not a not making a dig at anything.
Type, yeah.
And not as like, so they're not as affordable as that. But they're cheaper than like the handmade like LT Wright stuff, for example. They sit in this middle ground that kind of gets overlooked in a way, I think.
Yeah.
Which is a shame because like they're absolutely beautiful. The fit and finish is spot on. This one's got 14C28N steel, which is an offshoot of 13C26, which is itself a copy of AEBL. It all comes back to AEBL, we're finding.
A great, still with good, I don't know, genetic makeup. Like it works.
Especially on a Scandi grind where you need extra toughness right at the edge, because the edge itself, although it thickens up quickly, is narrower than most conventionally secondary bevel sharpened blades. You need extra toughness right there at the edge, so it's a great steel selection for this.
Yeah, I like that. Casstrom is like they have the heritage of Swedish knife making tradition, but their designs are not like strictly heritage designs. They're not just doing Pukos and Likus. How do you say that word?
Liukus.
Liukus.
Very influenced by, but
Absolutely, but
they've got their own shapes.
like look at the drop to that point. The handle shape is a little more complex than your typical Puko. They're doing their own thing, but they still have the woodcraft heritage of a Scandi-made knife.
They're awesome. All right, next up for me, I'm gonna again talk about two things kind of in conjunction, like I did with ZT, because K-Bar. We don't have a slabby on the shelf to show you, but the slabby and the new George Roscoe drop forged fixed blade tell two sides of a story of what K-Bar is doing so awesomely. Everyone's wanted a true full tang K-Bar fighting knife for so many years. They've finally done it in the form of the slabby, and they're victims of their own success because everywhere is sold out.
Yeah,
K-Bar doesn't have any. We don't have any. Nobody's
them.
got any. So I don't have one to show you. That's the victimization here in this case. You know, some people were complaining it was too expensive, but it must not have been because they sold out of everything. Like it did what they were supposed to do with that. And like the wrench knife that came out a couple years ago, this is kind of the first new design in their American-made drop forged series of knives, which, yeah, it may be a basic stainless steel here, but the fact that they're finding ways to do American-made manufacturing for such low prices while maintaining quality is really impressive. This is a $50 knife with a really cool sheath too. It's an ambidextrous sheath and kind of clicks in there. And the act of going to draw this knife is what unlocks the tab right here. You just kind of reach in and you can pull the knife out. But unless you actually do that reach in, if it's just kind of yanking on it, it doesn't go anywhere. You know, on its own, this might not be something that would make it to the list, but it's what it symbolizes, and what it symbolizes along with the slabby, that like K-Bar is doing some like subversive moves. They're doing things that make a lot of sense once you see them doing it, but might not have been something anyone thought would be like the thing to do, you know?
Yeah. K-Bar's had a good year, and they're not a company that moves quickly either. We only see a couple new knives really a year from them. But these new releases have been really focused. They've been pointing towards capabilities that they're expanding.
Yeah.
And the drop forge stuff is so cool. The finish on this is amazing. Like, I imagine it's an artifact of the way that they're made, but they get this like polish to them. The surface of the steel is like so nicely smooth, and then they tumble it. It feels great. It looks great. And the fact that they can kind of that they don't have to grind every single part of this and can forge it instead. They can keep the price down.
Yeah.
I do dig it.
Yeah, very, very cool knife. Not as cool as the wrench knife, in my opinion, but you could still get the wrench knife. And that's only like $47 right now. It's unreal.
We're almost running out of room here on the table.
All right, what you got for me?
All right, next I have a very recent newcomer to the KnifeCenter.
Oh, yeah.
But this shot very close to the top of my list immediately.
I'm glad you put this knife on your list because it meant I didn't have to include it in mine and I was able to include another thing.
Yeah.
Because he's going to tell you about it, but this is like a perfect fixed blade.
It really is. This is the Olive Arbor. It is made in the USA from LMAX steel, selection of handles, and comes with this awesome sheath that, well, we'll get to why this is special in a minute, but let's just talk about the facets on this blade here. So it is essentially approximating the geometry of a convex ground blade with a series of flat grinds. So if you can imagine sort of like, flat panes or, just flat facets. Back to that word again.
We'll let you struggle through this.
Yeah. Well, it's funky. It looks different. Yeah. It is different. It's an innovative. I've never seen anything quite like it.
So they kind of talk a little bit about performance benefits of this over a convex or a flat. I'm not necessarily sure I buy into the claims they're making, but I also kind of don't care because I like what it is.
Yeah. I don't think the grind gives any extra performance over a convex with a secondary edge. But what it does do is it allows them to machine this. Convex knives are famously expensive because they often require hand grinding of both bevels for the whole process.
Especially if it's convex right down to a zero edge. You got to be right in the middle. When you go in with a secondary bevel on a convex, which some companies do, you can kind of hide, if it's not, if it's only 99.5% perfect, that you'll notice that on a convex to zero. But if with a secondary bevel, that'll kind of get away with it. It is such a cool knife. The ergonomic, like beyond the whether you want to think of this Fibonacci grind, they call it, as a gimmick or not, ignore that for a minute because the ergonomics are astonishingly good. Like they're perfect.
Yeah, really flawless.
You got the crown spine here where your thumb is going to sit, and yet it's crisp in front of it, so you can strike a fire steel.
That's such a nice detail for actually using the knife because you do want the crisp spine for fire steel and scraping and the added utility that brings, but you don't want it under your thumb. And Olive Knives said, yeah, you know what? We'll do that. It's crazy that there aren't more fixed blades like this, but it's crowned up to here and then like decently sharp spine.
Yeah,
forward.
you can scrape tinder with it. You can scrape a fire steel and get that going. Like it's a great size. 4.5 inches is very useful without being too big to be carried all the time on your belt. The ergos are right. It's got a good finger guard to be like a survival knife in my opinion.
Yeah, you hold the knife. Enjoy that for a second. I want to talk about the sheath because it looks like just a Kydex sheath, but it really does set itself apart in terms of usability, thanks to this little rubber grommet here. This is a perfect place to push off with your thumb when you're drawing the knife. It also acts as a natural spring that holds the Kydex sheath tightly around the knife when it's in place, but allows it to somewhat easily or like comfortably come out of the sheath. It's a very simple but brilliant little touch that makes this so much easier to use than your typical Kydex sheath. Yeah, just every detail is so dialed in. It's rare you see a debut knife from a new company that is this refined. So kudos to Olive. You did a great job.
Yeah, man. All right. I have one more now, and this is my favorite fixed blade of the year, for sure. Like this one rises to the top. The Olive gives it a run for money. It's money, I'll admit. And so this is the Boker Magnum Collection 2025 knife. Unfortunately, it's a limited edition because it's like perfect. Fortunately for one lucky viewer of this video, we have one left. This is the one we have left. And I'm so grateful it hasn't been bought yet because I get to show it to you folks one more time. This is such an awesome knife. It's it's a little bit over $100. I can't remember the exact price. 6-inch blade of BKR 10, which should be similar to like VG10 stuff, I want to say. But they do say it's powder metallurgy steel.
Oh, nice. Should make it a little tougher than your usual VG10.
Beyond that, though, like they could have made this out of whatever. They could make a $50 version of this, and I would be super happy with it. This is a Nathan Carruthers design. Nathan the Machinist, well known, back in the knife forums days. He was doing really cool stuff. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, that looks like a Carruthers knife.
He's got a typical sort of design language.
Hard to get your hands on an authentic one without paying a good chunk of money. So that was exciting, first of all. And the design here just translates so well. It is nimble, it is balanced, the ergonomics are fantastic. I mean, there's not a single thing I would change about this knife except to make it
the
more
limited
available.
Edition, yeah.
And it shows like the Boker Magnum subline has been really making strides this year as well. Really starting last year, but into this of kind of upping their game, upping their quality. And this is a perfect showcase of just how cool that is. This is a knife that could be a tactical knife, your outdoorsy knife. I mean, it's just an awesome, awesome fixed blade.
Yeah.
Comes with a leather sheath. It's back there too.
Nathan Carruthers is one of those names that really like deep in the hobby knife guys might know, but whose knives have never really been at retailers or have not been advertised to anybody other than the freakiest knife forum denizens of the internet. And it's a shame because he's a world-class knife maker and knife designer. And I hope that this is the start of maybe more production collaborations. His designs really are excellent. They are doing kind of a survival. yeah, I don't even know like what type of knife this would be.
It's a hybrid of a lot of different genres, but you could apply it into any of them, I think.
Yeah.
If anyone out there has heard of Delta 3V before, Nathan is the guy kind of responsible for that. It's not a special version of 3V. It's just a heat treat protocol he developed, helped develop, if not developed exclusively for 3V, that has been well respected for the results. The performance is really good, and kind of transcended his name a little bit. Like if it's not Delta 3V, like well, it's all the same 3V, just like how But anyway, like super cool stuff.
Yeah, he takes knife performance super seriously, and that comes down to like that focus comes into the handle ergonomics, the blade shapes, the way the balance, not just the performance of the steel, but the knife holistically.
Yeah,
he's so focused on, and you can feel it.
And one more lucky person can get your hands on this.
Good luck.
Boker, do like a $75 version of this, please. That'd be awesome. All right, you got one more.
I got one more, and you are familiar with this knife, David.
I am indeed.
This right here is the Straightline EDC Digger, designed by DCA and Igor in concert.
Igor Bortolucci, who was with MKM, and he got me going with or opened the door for me to do the Pocket Tango with them. We've collaborated on this design, and I'll keep my mouth mostly shut here, but I have to thank you for including this because as a rule for myself, I can't put my own knife designs on a video like this because I don't think that's fair. So thank you.
Well, it wasn't on my first draft, but only because I forgot it actually came out this year. I was like, didn't I talk about that last year?
Seth sees a lot of stuff I'm working on way before any of you do, so your timeline was a little monkeyed with.
Yeah. No, it truly deserves a spot in the best fixed blades of the year, and I might even like it a little bit better than your first pocket fixed blade design.
Really?
Yes. Not okay. Let me split that hair, because I don't think it's a better carry. In that this is a straighter handle, and so it's not quite as polite in the pocket.
As the way the Pocket Tango was.
Yeah. The Pocket Tango sort of curves out of the way. Oh, there we go.
In my pocket right now.
Always has that thing on him. Yeah, so the Pocket Tango, the hangle's got an angle to it.
It hangles differently.
Yeah. And it's great. It's better in the pocket because it does kind of
nestles out of the way a little bit. Yeah.
But in the hand, it's not uncomfortable at all, but it's more present. You feel those angles as you're using it, manipulating it.
This is more of a straight line, would you say?
Yes. I believe Igor had more of a hand in the handle, right?
Yeah, the way this one came together is the blade here is mostly me and the handle here is mostly Igor. There's a little bit of each of us as it all came together, but that's where, as we were kicking ideas back and forth, that was kind of the way things synced up.
The handle is less distinctive than the Pocket Tango, but it is more ergonomically invisible.
Yeah, I get you.
And so, you could make an argument as to which is better, but I think I prefer using this. I think just because I don't, it's just not present in the hand in the way that the Pocket Tango is. But
you kind of forget about it a little more.
I've used both of these knives a lot more than maybe your average kind of, because I got to see as the development. So in any case,
anyway.
The blade shape, though, is also really excellent. I love the character of it. It doesn't look like a lot of other things until you go way back in knife history. And you get to some Spey blades, some funky old knives.
It's definitely Spey inspired, but like the amount of belly on it was kind of, it felt different in a way, the way it combined with the tip there.
It's a fun blade to use. I love the way the spine just slightly curves up. It's very satisfying to rest a finger on and use that way. It feels like it wants to sort of turn through things, and it's great. It's spreading, as a pocket food prep knife. This is better than the Pocket Tango.
I would agree. It's thinner geometry as well. That helps there too. Yeah.
And because I do a fair bit of, I go out of my way to do food prep with the knife I happen to be carrying. I think I gotta give it to the Digger.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It comes with a magnetic pocket sheath.
Yes.
We got to talk about that. That's Igor's thing too.
Yeah. And this even has the added feature over the Pocket Tango. Not to keep comparing it to the Pocket Tango, but in my mind, they're sort of in
there's a connection there. Yeah, for sure.
The Digger has a 2-position clip. So this is your kind of more accessible. There's going to be more of the knife sticking out of the pocket, or you can go to the deep carry position and really bury it down in there.
And the handle sits pretty level with here, not including the fob. So yeah. You can get a Kydex sheath for it too, for like 20 bucks or so, nice. 15, 20 bucks. I forget what they cost, but that's available as an extra. Yeah, man. Well, thank you for including the Digger. I'm very gratified.
Yeah, it's really great. And it's a good price too. So if you haven't yet tipped your little toes into the world of pocket fixed blades, I think this is a great first one to start with. The materials are great. The design is superlative. It just works. And you got a choice of Kydex sheath if you don't want to go for the full leather pocket experience.
I've actually been carrying mine more often cross draw in the Kydex sheath versus the pocket sheath. I've been enjoying that. More on that next week though. Hint, hint. All right, well, before we wrap up, we actually forgot one thing.
Yeah. Too many good knives this year.
And this was another good knife that you thought was good too, because we didn't have one on the shelf to film. One more fixed blade to round out my top 5, the Condor K-Knight Cleaver. Picture right here. Behold its awesomeness. I mean, it's no secret why I ought to like this knife, right? I mean, it's basically a mini carcass splitter. And you all know I love the carcass splitter. What a cool knife this was, and good value too. It's like 140 bucks. You get a big 8-inch rectangle of 1075.
That's really what it was too.
It's a little more stylish than a rectangle, but only barely. Long micarta handle. I need one of these for my, if for nothing else, for my my campfire setup at home. My solo stove and the wood pile that sits next to it, for splitting up stuff.
You can still call it camping if it's just your backyard.
Yeah. What an awesomely impressive blade that was. I need to get my hands on one before they discontinue it. I don't know anything, but you never know what's going to happen. So that's it. That's our top 10 fixed blades for the year, as well as our top 10 folders. What'd you think? I'll make it interesting. Whose top 5 list for each was better, mine or Seth's? Drop it down below. Or make your own lists and let us know as well.
Just know that a lot of the knives that appeared on David's didn't appear on mine because they appeared on David's.
And some of the things that appeared on Seth's appeared there, so I didn't have to put them on mine either. There is some definite overlap. There were some things where we're like, okay, we can stretch this a little bit. Because like that olive knife, for one, we're both huge fans of that, for one example. But anyway, drop your comments down below. If you want to get your hands on any of these items, check out the links in the description, which will take you to KnifeCenter.com. And don't forget about Apple Pay or Sezzle options at checkout, or our long-running Knife Rewards program, so you can earn some free money on your next purchase. I'm David C. Anderson from the Knife Center.
I'm Seth V.
And that's it for now. See you next time.